Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. So these are just our inaugural videos that we usually play at the beginning of each and every webinar, just to sort of give a short elevator pitch on what the organization is all about. So we'll start immediately after the videos have played, and I think I've played the first one, so I'll just proceed to the second one.
Great.
Does South Africa have a leadership development challenge? As we've seen in some statistics around reputational challenges in corporate and business at large, the answer is there is a reputational challenge. That is primarily driven by a lack of credible and quality leadership. The BMF over the years, therefore, has tried to close the gap in ensuring that we develop a quality, team quality, talented Black leadership in the country. Today, we achieved this through a program called the Managerial Leadership Development Program, which we as the BMF, not in partnership with other institutions, but we have built it internally as the BMF. And therefore, we believe that this program is what you need. This program is what South Africa needs. And yes, this program is what the world needs.
Through this program, a lot we have learned. We've managed to survive pressure, dissecting and solving real life problems. And most importantly, I became a very good team leader out of it. I understand it to be fostering collective and inclusive work and business environment.
The Young Professionals Development Program, now the Managerial Leadership Development Program, is aimed at developing competent managers and leaders who can be effective in their organizations, in the BMF itself, and in the society. We actually deal with the competencies of managing self, working with teams, and problem solving through the methodology of action learning. This encompasses the use of actual real life situations that are solved and resolved as teams, and most importantly, journaling those experiences as well as delivering on a live project. At the end of this program, we have managers that can manage themselves in terms of their emotional competencies, the processes, as well as their teams, and ultimately their organizations. It is
Right. All right. Good evening, colleagues. I am Richard Molefe, and I would just like to welcome everyone. But I'm not the one that's supposed to be playing that role. It is my lovely colleague, our national ATO at the BMF student chapter, and that is none other than Ms. Ongeza Dudada. And she will be our facilitator for the day. So colleagues, please welcome her. And we are under her command this evening. Thank you very much. Ongi, over to you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to an exciting and exclusive webinar that is powered by the collaborative efforts of the BMF and Google's Black Googlers Network, as represented by our esteemed speakers. As Richard had already mentioned, my name is Ongeza Dudada, and colleagues, I just wanted to highlight that we are truly privileged to be part of this session. Not only will we gain insights into AI's transformative role, but we'll also get access to explore those ways and get leverage cutting-edge innovation. And without further overdue, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite our chairperson again, Richard, to just give us a sense of why we're here today and just to give us a frame to make sure that we are all aligned for today's session. Richard, come in, Chair.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Ongi. Colleagues, mine is quite simple. Mine is to just introduce the purpose of the day to each and everyone that is with us. but most especially our distinguished and beloved BMF student chapter members. Colleagues, allow me to say the following. I've already introduced myself as Richard Molefe, the National Chairperson of the BMF student chapter. But on behalf of the BMF, it is an honor to welcome you all to this critical conversation on the next Gen AI, which is Google's investment in Africa's student tech future. Today's engagement, colleagues, exists for a very precise purpose: to interrogate and not merely celebrate the role of artificial intelligence in shaping the academic and professional trajectories of young people in the continent. Now, as the BMF, our mandate has never been passive observation. It has always been strategic empowerment, ensuring that students are not only beneficiaries of technological shifts, but are informed participants who can shape, critique, and lead those shifts. Now, this session is meant to do 5 things. Number 1, to confront the future and not fear it. Number 2, to question the narratives that have been sold to us from a technological perspective. And number 3, to build a generation that thinks for itself. Number 4, to build a bridge between global innovation and local aspirations. And ultimately, to prepare not just for 2026, but for the century that comes ahead. Now, colleagues, when it comes to confronting the future and not fearing it, we need to appreciate and understand the fact that AI isn't coming. AI is already here. And we need to understand and appreciate the fact that the world is moving with or without us. Now, our job as young people and our responsibility at that is to make sure that it moves with us and not past us. The purpose of this session is to equip every student in this space to understand AI so deeply that you can challenge it, shape it, and use it as a tool for your own expansion, innovation, and power. Now, when it comes to questioning the narratives that have been sold to us, we're often told that technology will magically level the playing field. That's a comforting idea, but it is not true by default. Technology amplifies whoever is prepared. So today is about preparation grounded in truth, not hype. We are here to ask 3 fundamental questions. What does AI mean for African students in reality? Who gets access to these tools? How do we ensure benefits do not skip us in the way previous industrial shifts have? So this webinar exists because we refuse to just be spectators. We refuse to be bystanders, colleagues. Now, when it comes to building a generation that thinks for itself, the BMF student chapter believes deeply in independent thought. Africa does not need coders. It needs young people who can think critically, philosophically, and strategically about the power, systems, and ethics and the world we are inheriting as young people. So tonight is not only about AI, it's about learning ourselves, our agency, our capacity, and our responsibility to shape the era we are born into. Now let's look at building a bridge between global innovation and local aspirations. We recognize that for Africa to truly participate, we must do more than just consume global technologies, colleagues. We must contextualize them, localize them, and innovate them from our lived experiences. So now Google's investment matters, yes, but African agency matters much more. So today's purpose is to connect these 2 forces, global technological capacity and African intellectual ambition, so that students leave here empowered with tools, insights, and access that can accelerate their futures. So colleagues, the bottom line is we're here to connect global technology with African confidence, not imagination, but creation, not dependence, but partnership, not consumption, but leadership. And then lastly, colleague, on the fundamental pillars of today, 5 fundamental pillars of why we're here today. We are closing the chapter of the 2025 academic year, but we are opening a new era, one where AI is not a buzzword, but the new literacy of global competitiveness. This evening is about gearing up intellectually and strategically for the 2026 academic year and beyond, where students who understand AI will not only survive, but they will set the pace. So the purpose of today is simple: to awaken a generation that will not wait to be invited to the future, but will engineer it with their own hands. And then ultimately, colleagues, the purpose of today is future readiness, not in the vague motivational sense, but in a practical, measurable sense. Acquiring knowledge, expanding networks, and sharpening those critical thinking skills, positioning ourselves to lead the coming AI-driven economy. So as the BMF student chapter, we believe that Africa's young people must not just wait for the future to arrive, we ought to create it. And today is one more deliberate step towards that responsibility. Thank you very much, colleagues. Thank you very much, Ongi. And I look forward to a dynamic and rigorous engagement that pushes us closer to an inclusive, student-centered African tech revolution. Thank you very much. Over to you, Ongi.
Thank you very much, Richard. Thank you very much for that. It was very insightful. And I think I'll agree with you that most of us fear the AI. I mean, I myself, I would like to confess, I'm one of those people. It is taking over the industry. It just seems like a lot in the next 10 years will be so much different than what it is now. So without further ado, colleagues, I'll introduce our first speaker for the day, who is a distinguished person in the AI field. And that person will be Ulsis Shomuka Behrman. She is a tech person with Google.
Sorry, Ongi, you've gone on mute. Before I go, I'd like my very esteemed colleague to take the floor first. His name is Sia Matigane. I believe he will set the scene for us, and then I will follow. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you very much, Sis Bumi. I didn't realize I'm mute. So he can come in first, no problem. Thank you very much, sir. You can come in. The floor is yours.
Hi, Ongeza, and good afternoon and good evening to everyone on this call. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Sia Matigane. I am the Google South Africa Comms and Public Affairs Manager. I've been on the role for the last almost 4 years now. My role essentially is to look after the public relations part of the business. So I support right across the business. I support the marketing team, the Gap team, cloud team in all their communication needs with the outside world. So I'm that guy who is always doing interviews on behalf of Google. In the same vein, I'm also a long-standing member or part of the BMF. No longer in good standing because I don't pay my fees. But I've been part of the Google, the BMF family since my tertiary days. So I was a student chapter lead at the University of Fort Hare when I was doing my undergrad, I think about 15 years ago now, I think. I'm not revealing my age. So I think the colleagues decided maybe I should be part of this conversation just because one, I've got experience being a member of the Black Googlers network for the last 4 years that I've spent at Google, but also having been a member on a part and parcel of the Google, the BMF family. It's a very great organization that I've been really proud to call a place that also helped me propel myself in my career. Over the last few years, I've been sort of student chapter, young professional events. I've been with the main body events, including the AGM, where I've sat and listened to some of the top speakers and engaged and learned a lot in that period. Short story: the way I became part of sort of BMF was with the head of comms and marketing at BMF, as well as a lot of the other guys were still involved in the BMF. Guys like Kuma Dube, guys like Nzwana Makaula, guys like Simpiwe Yako, were all in the same university, and we decided to revive the student chapter at the university. At the university that we were attending, which is Forte University. Yeah. So after we did that, we became involved in sort of running the province, and then the province we involved in the student chapter nationally. And after that, when you leave school, you obviously have to get on with the business of living a real life. And we kept on being part of members of BMF, and the BMF really helped us, I think, propel our careers to where I think it is. If from that group, I think majority of the group is actually one working, but also two graduated because we took ourselves a bit too seriously for our age. Which is not a bad thing, but also we did have a lot of fun. We did have a lot of fun. We traveled a lot. We traveled from East London to PE on weekends, and we'll go to these AGMs and talk about what we want to become as a group, and then we'll also engage and become sort of build networks that have lasted us all these years. 15 years later, we are still using the same networks. So I think the BMF student chapter is a great place to start when you are looking to have a great career. And I can say that proudly so that one of those members still works for the BMF, which is Kulukazi, who leads the marketing and comms part of BMF. And so I still am part of the BMF solely because she's still part of the BMF, and Zwana and Kuma. And so I still get invited to those events, and I still engage with BMF. BMF has got a very particular sort of purpose mission that they drive. Since in the 70s, when it was founded by Eric Mafuna and his cohort, I still feel when I look at what they were trying to achieve, that it's not yet been achieved. It's still a work in progress. We've made a lot of strides, but going forward, I think we need to sort of equip and empower ourselves going forward to make sure that we try and get as close as possible. For example, I attended the one AGM that Eric Mafuna was invited as a guest speaker to, and he was actually complaining, saying that the BMF had no building of their own. They were still renting, and that's why he got lost on the way to the Nedbank offices in Sentin. And he was complaining that there was no building. And I thought that is such a profound sort of challenge to put in front of people of the caliber of a BMF member. A BMF member is a manager in progress, right? So BMF's role is to build managers. And I felt that what he had said in that sort of AGM was, for me, very inspiring in the sense that it was moving the manager from someone who is employed but becoming an entrepreneur. So I was like, okay, this is the next challenge for us as a generation, because each generation must identify their struggle, own it, or sort of betray it, as the famous saying goes, right? And I thought, what will our generation's job be going forward? Would it be to just work in these offices, or will it be to change and transform? And so, bringing myself now, a few years later, working at Google, I realized that I cannot just do the job and just work at the job. I realized that I need to be part of the sort of the ecosystem of Google that tries to brings positive change to society, not just to me as an employee, but also to society. So what does it look like? I then joined the BGN, which is the Black Googlers Network, which is led by my colleagues, Tembi and a few others that work towards sort of making sure that the Black people who work at Google across the world. So Google is a company that employs 190,000 plus people across the world, and a few of those, not a few, but a large number of those are Black people. And of course, there's the unique set of sort of requirements as a Black person that we want. And I think one of those is maybe my colleague will touch on it later, Mpumi, which is the skill sets around AI. And being a person that's charged with speaking on behalf of the company in an AI first company, I've really become close to the field of AI, and I've really come to appreciate the power and the impact that it has, or the potential it has to change everyone's lives. So marrying these two worlds for me has always been a dream, and I'm really happy that this session is taking place. So well done to Tembi and Kulu for making it come to life, because what we really need to do as Africans, and I always say this to people when I speak about AI, is that if we take technology as a group, what happened in Kenya in terms of M-Pesa, it helped Kenyans propel themselves from a world where there was no technology in terms of being able to interact and use that technology to impact and change their lives, to creating a platform called M-Pesa that has propelled them to be able to interact economically, whether you are selling maize or buying airtime or buying big ticket items in Kenya, you are able to use M-Pesa. And that has created a sort of an ecosystem that is into the billions of dollars. And it's part of a big part of the GDP of that country is coming from that tool. Now, when it comes to AI, we know that we expect it to be fourfold or even more than that in terms of the impact it can have in changing our lives. And so therefore I'm a what we call an evangelist for AI. Not because of any other reason, except that I know that we come from our different backgrounds with our history in this country, in the context of this country. And I know that if we can get a tool like this, so whether you're talking about Gemini, whether you're talking about Nano Banana, whether you're talking about Canvas, whether you're talking about all the different types of AIs that you can find, Notebook LM, if you're a student in a university, that you can use to sort of get the best and the biggest sort of data into your system, so that you can have the best output when you come to exams or when you come to assignments. For me, it's a no-brainer. You know what I mean? AI for us is an opportunity that we must take and grab by the bulls, the horns of the bull, and then take it to the next level, and make sure that we get ourselves educated, trained, know the pros, know the cons, take them and use them in our everyday lives, the student chapter, in our everyday lives, in the classroom, in our everyday lives at home. And I'm not just saying this because it's a Friday and I'm not out having a good time with my friends. It's because I think AI is central to the mission we have as this generation, to propel ourselves and make sure that we, if not suppress the world, but we become equal to the world. And I know this for a fact because we travel to Kenya, we travel to Dubai, we travel to different areas. When you work at Google, you get to experience sort of different places. And I always look at the opportunity that we have as Africans to use this tool and make sure that it actually solves a lot of the problems we have, a lot of the challenges that we face. But besides that, it also gives us an opportunity to equalize ourselves, and then also even sometimes leapfrog people who've been doing it for longer, because technology has got that power. And I think this session, and once again, I want to thank the team that has organized it. This session is important in terms of understanding exactly why we think AI is a positive for us, and actually start looking at it through those lenses, because obviously there's always going to be questions around a new technology, and there should always be questions around the new technology. But what I'm saying is, as Africans, we cannot afford not to take these opportunities. We should be inspired to go, any opportunity that gives me a leg up, I should be taking. And with those words, I'm going to hand over back to the MC and really encourage you guys, to best foot forward, use AI tools in front of you. I'm sure my colleague Bumi will share the different ones that I've mentioned prior. She'll give you more details around which ones are they and what you can do to sort of engage with them and make sure that they improve the output, whether that's as a student or when you actually eventually join the workplace or eventually at home, how you can make sure that your family, for example, I use my Gemini. I use Gemini to organize all my family holidays. I don't even sit down and type anything anymore. I just prompt. Prompting is the new thing for me. I just prompt. And so, yeah, I want to encourage everybody to enjoy the session. listen in. I think Vusi is going to be joining us as well. Vusi is South African, who's based in Ghana. That's an exciting one as well, because he's also taken sort of this opportunity in tech and use it to propel himself in terms of his career. And so, yeah, please listen in and enjoy the session. I'll also be listening in because I'm always inspired by the stories of my colleagues. So, yeah, over to you, MC.
Thank you very much, Putsia. Thank you very much for the insights and sharing your journey with us. I'm happy to know that you are a product of the BMF. We actually need to speak about your membership. You need to fix that. Moving on to our next speaker, we have Usis Mbumi, as I had tried to introduce her first. She is a cloud partner engineer with Google, and she has a deep commitment to harness innovation, to uplift communities, and redefining it with our own values. Sis, it's such an honor to have you today. Please come in.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ongeza. Thank you, Richard, earlier for that inspiring opening. I took a lot of notes, which I hope will, resonate with everybody on the call. I'll just highlight a few ones just to show you that I was listening. You had a few questions around what does AI mean to us? How do we access these AI tools that are at our disposal, but most importantly, how do we make sure that everybody is included and that nobody is left behind in this new race? I think I found that extremely powerful. I found that as those key nuggets that we all have to sort of embed in our minds in terms of being included in this race, not just being not just being consumers, but being contributors as well. Okay, so I'm not going to introduce myself yet. I'm going to play a video. We put together a really, really cool video that we like to showcase that helps to amp up those inspirational juices. So I hope the audio will work. We've not tested this before. Let me go for it. And Timby, you'll give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if the sound isn't sounding. Okay, and then the mute button decides to hide when you hope that that video really helped to inspire you. Which could be utilized but it needs for you guys. Like I am. Okay, I think I am. Let me just stop my video for a bit. bit and just let it calibrate. But can you all hear me? Okay,
Yes,
all good. Alrighty, so I'll just turn off video for a bit for bandwidth. I think it's giving us a little issue, but I will continue. Alrighty, so my name is Mpumi, and I go by the title at Google of Partner Engineer. I work specifically in one of the divisions within the broader Google and Alphabet group called Google Cloud. And basically what Cloud is it is a platform that runs pretty much every Google service you can think of. But in its generic form, Cloud is a bunch of high performance servers that are conglomerated in a specific area or region that enable any technology services to be run. And those services could be in the form of software as a service offerings, such as applications that you can access on your phone, or some other mission critical applications that help run customer environments as well as businesses or keep businesses afloat. So that's basically what Cloud is, and that's where I sit. My role, called Partner Engineer, basically means that I work with our more strategic system integrators on the continent. So these may be, big giants such as Deloitte, Accenture, etc. And I help shape solutions that they can take to market and solve for key customer challenges. And what those challenges could be, organizations are always looking to optimize their systems. They're always looking to provide the best services and best experiences to their clients. And usually these services or these applications run on some form of infrastructure that needs to be modernized. And so that's where these system integrators come in. They help to migrate clients from the on-premises servers, which they have built on their own, which have no ability to scale especially in the era that we find ourselves in. And so they start to leverage cloud computing as a means to provide that scale. I have been at Google for 3 years now. And prior to that, I used to work at Visa. You may be familiar with Visa, which is pretty much a card authentication organization where I manage the analytics platform. That was pretty much my jump into a data-driven world where I used to analyze cardholder spend across the biggest banks in South Africa, but not just South Africa, but Africa at large, as well as some of the European countries. A very enlightening experience for me because I got to understand what wealth means. I also got to understand what spend means and the notion of accumulating a record of some sort in the financial sense or being a contributor within the financial space. Prior to that, I was working for a company called Oracle, which was traditionally known as a database management company, basically also running very mission critical systems across the world. One of them being the South African Police Service, which was very enlightening for me to know that a lot of the data that was run and crunched by a key component within our country was actually running on a platform that I helped manage. And then prior to that, I worked for Microsoft, another American company. I know what you're thinking. It all was a coincidence. But Microsoft was really another stepping stone for me in terms of my career trajectory. I worked with some of the biggest banks in South Africa, as well as some public sector institutions as well, to help modernize their systems and get them ready, for a new era. At that moment, it was called the information era. And just like Sia, I'm not going to reveal my age, but yes, that's basically what I did. And the reason I'm just painting out my journey in the tech scene is that this space is not carved out, or there's no template. There is no, you have to do this in order to get to a certain point. The world is your oyster. Yes, I studied a degree in the technology space. However, I didn't know where the world would take me. My ambition was probably to work for a bank, because that's what I was exposed to at the time. But the trajectory took me to a totally different path where I started working at a global scale at a very young age. But I feel that really helped to set the scene with regards to where I could go going forward. Having worked at Google for 3 years has really been an amazing and awesome experience. I am excited and particularly inspired myself in terms of the work that Google has done, the work that Google is about to do as well, and some of the plans that are currently in flight with regards to how Google really wants to shape Africa as the continent with the youngest population, but one with also the fastest growth. Okay. What's on your screen right now, you're probably thinking, okay, Mpumi, what are you, an engineer, or what are you? This is an AI generated mini video using one of the tools that Google has shipped out called VO. VO is a video generation model where you can take any asset, be it an image, be it a document, and you can actually, using a prompt, let it create some video visuals for you. Again, this has been another game changer where we get to dip into areas that we never really thought we would. So on this photo, I'm being shown as a character in Alice in Wonderland. That wouldn't have been Mpumi from Soweto, showing up in these type of stages. But AI has now given me the ability to become one of the cast members. So that's just a lovely, quirky thing I wanted to put out in case some of you were wondering. Alrighty. Now, because it's December, I think I wouldn't have done it justice if I really just made this a lecture and made you listen on a Friday night. I wanted to put in this mini snippet, which, and courtesy of Usia, he actually released this this morning, and I was so excited to see, and I thought I really want to incorporate it in my presentation to you today. As you know, Google has been known as a search engine. That's probably the first stepping stone into you understanding what Google is about. And basically what it does, or what its mission has been, was to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible. What that means is that Google has been the engine that sources data from all sorts of places and puts it in a format that you as a user can be able to tap into, but make it useful in whichever form, in whichever way you need it to, making it a super data-centric company, but also a company that has always done AI, believe it or not. Now, what's on your screen here, you'll see are 2025 South Africa top searches. We obviously, the first place, well, most of us, the first place we go to when we want to find out about a certain topic, we will go onto Google, search for it, and then it will give us a whole host of sites that we can start to go into and learn more about that subject matter. And so every year, Google then consolidates a view of what every country has been searching with the means of pretty much showing you what the landscape has been in a particular country, what topics have been or what aspects have been topical, and basically showing you the space at which the country has been for that particular year. And what was very interesting for me to see is that Temu is the most searched. My word. Okay, so we have a lot of like spenders and people that are interested in, finding products from all over the world, which is really, really good to see. But for me, this also shows me that the e-commerce scene has really taken off, and that people find these platforms such as Temu accessible to them, either for resale purposes, which means that they can be entrepreneurs in their own right, but also just access, right? Gone are the days when you'd only have access to products that are only available in your town or in your home country. I think platforms such as these have given us, the scale globally to be able to, source products. And then number two, I'm not going to go through the whole list. Sorry, I'm not gonna bore you like that. But second on the list was General Mkhwanazi. For me, it's like, okay, cool, yes. I agree. He definitely needs to be there. He's definitely been topical. He's definitely shaped and reshaped, the political landscape in our country, and has really, for some of us, given us a bit of hope with regards to where our country is headed. And then another interesting one for me was obviously seeing that Google Gemini made it to the top 10 list. So that means a bulk of you on this call as well are already familiar with what Google Gemini is. And a fun fact here, the Google Gemini app at a specific point this year was actually the most downloaded application on the Play Store. So again, showing you that South Africans are hungry for information. South Africans are hungry to be part of this AI race. Back to Richard's point, nobody is getting left behind. We are all getting included. Okay, so that is that. And then I'll bring it to a bit of a larger scale with regards to what Google has been doing for the region of Africa, ensuring that everybody is included, ensuring that Africans have the right access to information and data when and where they need it. And like I said earlier, we're the youngest population in the world. Why would nobody want to tap into a space that's pure and ripe and ready to be developed, such as Africa? So I'll go through a few points in terms of the investments that Google has made into Africa, in terms of the opportunities that it sees going forward. One is Google has done a fantastic job at ensuring that we all have high quality internet connectivity, which is, in my opinion, the plumbing of any digital era, right? They laid out a cable in the west coast of Africa called Equiano. Now, this cable is one ginormous cable that's got the capacity of 144 terabits per second. Now, that is like 100x my speed at home. I can't even digest it in terms of the amount of data that this cable can accommodate. But this cable was laid on the west coast of Africa from Europe, coming all the way down, connecting into Lagos, Nigeria, and then branching out into Cape Town. And this is a subsea cable. So, very little interruptions in terms of if it were to be terrestrial, and obviously also conforming to things like the right cooling levels, etc., because it is subsea. The second cable, what you see on your screen right now, called Umoja cable. Umoja is an East African term and is fitting for the location at which this cable finds itself. Umoja cable is located in the east coast or the east side of Africa, starting from Kenya, coming all the way down past all the countries, Zambia, Angola, you name it, down into South Africa, into Johannesburg. And then it branches out from Johannesburg into Australia. So it then becomes a subsea cable from South Africa going into Australia. Now, what this means is that we've got full coverage. East of Africa, west of Africa is now included in the global scale of things. And a lot of people will ask me a question of, we just learned about Google Cloud maybe a few years ago. Where has it been? What I'm very proud to tell as a story, and one that I've lived as part of my journey working at Google, is that Google wasn't so quick to come into the race and say, a few vendors have already set up data centers in the region, we'll do the same, but there's no real value. What Google has done is, by laying these cables and ensuring that there's high quality internet connectivity, what would be a cloud service if there is no reliable connectivity? What would YouTube be if there was no reliable connectivity? And so they've really put a lot of investments with regards to laying out the foundation and ensuring that everybody has the right access to the right products and services that it has to provide. Ensuring that when you're streaming your podcasts on YouTube, you get the best experience. When you are traveling from point A to point B on Google using Google Maps, you also have the best experience, and likewise for all our other products. The second component, and a very exciting one, and one that I'm very excited to share that Google has made a really active and proactive investment in, is the AI Research Center in Accra, Ghana. Now, Sia did touch on this a little earlier in terms of us being blessed by one of our colleagues, Uvusi, who's actually based in this AI Research Center and is one of the software engineers that help to build these AI solutions that help to solve for African challenges. Now, this is a very critical and important one to note, to say that in the name of us not just being consumers in this AI race, it's so refreshing to know that companies such as Google are making active investments in local skills to ensure that we become our own contributors in terms of building systems and solutions that really resonate with us and our problems. And some of these are things like, and this is Vusi's team building this, mapping out buildings in remote areas. We know that there are some really dense areas that are unmarked, that some of us have lived in or live in. But Google and the AI Research Center help to build solutions that enable this mapping of these areas to ensure accessibility when it's needed. And many other use cases that I obviously won't steal Vusi's thunder. I'll let him go through this and he will take a slot just after me. So that's a very cool initiative that Google has really been immersed in terms of building local skill and building solutions that resonate with us. A third component here is the network points of presence. Now, this one is closely related to the first point I mentioned around connectivity with Equiano and Umoja. Now, for some of you that may not know this, points of presence are strategically placed connectivity points across different areas, specifically in the Africa continent being so large. These network points of presence ensure that whatever Google service you are utilizing, be it YouTube, be it Maps, be it Search, be it Gmail, you get the best possible experience wherever you are. What happens in the background is that if there's a server, as an example, running in one of the America data centers, for you to be streaming it in South Africa, there's something called latency. It'll take you forever to bring that file, stream it, and which would cause things like buffering and really just cause a horrible experience in terms of you tapping into this product. So what these points of presence networks or network points of presence do is that they cache this material or this media from this large data center, and they store it in a point of presence, like I said, that is strategically located across different points of the Africa continent, to ensure that when you are streaming a certain service, in tech terms, if you're calling a file, it's easier accessible because it's closer to you in terms of proximity. That's why when you're streaming YouTube and you're driving and you go into the outskirts of South Africa, you still will have a good experience because these points of presence are scattered all over the region to ensure exactly that you get a good experience. So for streaming, for gaming, for fintech, etc., these points of presence really make an experience of any Google service seamless. Another good investment that Google has made. Another critical one, and one that's closest to my heart, is digital skills development. Now, Google aims to train over 100,000 African software developers, not just developers, but also provide digital skills training to everyone. Now, you've heard of terms such as digital marketing, you've heard of terms such as AI, machine learning, cybersecurity, cloud computing, infrastructure management, etc. These are all the training materials that Google has made available to all of us. And it's got a very strict KPI in terms of how many of these people it empowers. And so this is one very important component. It really would not do it justice if Google rolled out every single product from under the sun, but there's nobody that's enabled to be able to utilize, but also be able to shape the next best product in the context of wherever they reside. So that's another cool investment, or a set of investments that Google has made in terms of making us more skilled in these cutting edge areas. And then another one, which is very close to me in terms of where I work. As I mentioned earlier, I am part of the Google Cloud team, is that we launched a cloud region in Johannesburg. Now, what a cloud region is it is a set of data centers, 3 to be specific, that are located across Johannesburg within a 40 to 45 kilometer radius. And the reason for that is, with all these mission critical high performance systems that Google Cloud is supposed to be running for customers that we have and businesses that we have in South Africa, should one location fail or something happens, we know that there is an ability to still continue and not be offline. And the services will continue because there is what we call business continuity or business resilience measures that have been put as a result of setting up these 3 data centers that are located far apart from each other. Now, all of these 3 data centers, we refer to them as a cloud region because they are all in one city, but scattered in different areas. Why this is important in terms of Google setting up a set of data centers in Africa, in South Africa to be specific, is one, the amount of opportunity that we've seen that Google or cloud services really bring with regards to growing our economy, growing our business ambitions in whichever shape or form, but also just giving the right access of tooling to the right institutions to be able to fuel this out across. Another important factor is the fact that we get to keep our data within our shores. So there's no reason anymore for anybody to say, okay, I'm running my services in a data center in Europe because it's more robust, it's more reliable. You get the same power in a data center that's located in South Africa and still get to run the same services as you would sitting in Europe, in America, in Asia Pacific. And so this is a very critical component for us with regards to growing our economy, but also being included and not being left behind. Alrighty, and then another one is the Product Development Center. I know I've really gone a lot in each of these points, but they're very important, and that's why I decided to go through each and in every one of them in the way that I have. So the Product Development Center in Kenya is a first of its kind in Africa, and this is a team that's really closely linked with where Vusi sits in Ghana. But this team is a team of local engineers that build products and services that, again, help create or really make our experiences better as users sitting in Africa. So them understanding our landscape, them understanding our needs with regards to how we use Google services, they're able to shape, refine, optimize some of these applications and services that we need and use in our everyday lives. And again, these are local skills. These are people based in Nairobi, Kenya. And then last but not least, on my slide, another key investment that Google has made is by fueling the startup scene. So there's quite a lot of programs that Google has rolled out as accelerators to ensure that startups are being grown from being startups to being these unicorns that can compete globally. And these programs are in different shapes and forms, such as support mechanisms, mentorship, financial resources, even through seed and Series A funding. And all of this is done for local entrepreneurs, so homegrown entrepreneurs, with the aim of getting them to play in the global scene. So that is, in a nutshell, all the investments that Google has made to ensure that everybody is included and everybody has the right access to tools that are helpful to their everyday lives. Alrighty. Now, coming up next, I did want to paint a picture with regards to how you've always known Google, but I also wanted to sort of blow up the magnitude at which Google products have really touched our lives. Fun fact, did you know that for Google Search, Google for Gmail, Android, Chrome, YouTube, and Play Store, each of these products run 2 billion daily active users each. So this is not 2 billion across all the products. This is 2 billion users per product. So this means that YouTube has more than 2 billion daily active users. That is a massive scale, right? And this basically shows you how Google has evolved from just being a search engine and making and organizing information and making it accessible and helpful to everyone, to actually making other products from either user studies in terms of what is needed, to getting them to a point of how to best utilize the products to empower oneself or to get them to the next level. And so this is the story of innovation and the story of scale that Google has painted over the years. Another fun fact, did you know that Google is less than 30 years old? Yes. So Google is a millennial, but the scale at which Google has touched our lives individually, to me, has just been mind-blowing. With that in mind, I also wanted to share one other fun fact. Did you know that Maps, Google Search, YouTube, as well as Gmail have been nominated as the world's greatest innovations? This means that when you wake up in the morning, chances are you will open one of these applications, be it email, where you want to be productive and you want to understand, what's been happening throughout while you were asleep and plan your day ahead. Be it you consuming content on YouTube, because you just, you want to know what's going on, or you just want to get from point A to point B. Now, this is innovation, at its best. Over and above that, did you know that Gmail and YouTube alone have saved over 100 million hours per week of every adult worker here in Africa? Again, that's a number that's just saying, okay, like Google has been here and Google has really impacted our lives in a very positive light. And with that, now we find ourselves in this AI era. Now, Ongeza earlier spoke about AI being a bit of a fear for her in terms of she doesn't know, where we are, where she knows where we are now because she knows the tools that we have available, but she doesn't know where this thing will take us, right? In the next 10 years, AI will be something else. So there's a lot of fear that AI has really invoked in a lot of us with regards to where we sit in all different areas. Some people will say AI is only for people in tech. I say no, hell no. AI is really there or meant to make our lives better and optimize the way that we do our work. Now, Google's mission is to make AI helpful for everyone. Again, going back to its initial mission of making sure that information is accessible and helpful to everyone, Google sees AI as a mechanism that will be helpful for every single person on the planet. And again, just to blow up the scale, a recent study was done by an organization called GSMA, which is a mobile telecommunications organization, that said AI has the opportunity or will open up an opportunity of over $2.9 trillion by 2030. And then to bring it back home, in Africa, by 2030, actually this year, the economy has pretty much been bolstered for about $3 billion as a result of utilizing, consuming, and contributing to AI services. And this study also showed that in the next few years, this number will triple to about $9 billion. And this is just for Africa. So this already tells you that if there was any fear in your mind about AI, turn that fear quickly into an opportunity, because there is a piece of the pie for every single person, whether you're tapping into the brain power that comes as a result of these AI services, or you becoming a contributor and building the next best product. AI is here, and there's a huge opportunity for all of us to tap into. Again, I did give this disclaimer earlier that I am a data person. I wanted to share some few highlights based on our Q3 results, our financial results, and which showed that Google actually made its first ever $100 billion revenue in a quarter. And this number is attributed to about 7 billion tokens per minute of all of our first party models, including Gemini, which Sia spoke about earlier, and I'll talk through in a bit more detail later, as well as other API calls from our AI services. Another fun and insightful piece that came out of this report is that over 600 million monthly active users have been seen utilizing Gemini app. I did say this earlier, that at some point Gemini as an application was the most downloaded application on the Play Store. So having a 650 million monthly active user base is insane. So we quickly getting to that billion user base that I spoke about earlier, where YouTube is. Okay. Next is cloud. Cloud has seen an enormous growth as well year on year, with 34% for Q3. As I mentioned earlier, cloud is pretty much the platform in which all Google services run, and most companies are tapping into that, power that comes with Google having run all these services for all these years with such huge user bases. And that has attributed a lot to how a lot of companies trust to run their mission critical services on Google Cloud. Another more interesting number here is $155 billion backlog. What that means is that of the services that are already being run on Google Cloud, there are some services that are currently requested but have not been run on Google Cloud, either because customers are waiting for features, there are updates that are coming down the line, but there's literally $155 billion worth of consumption on Google Cloud that's currently waiting as backlog, which shows you that this 34% growth year on year will quickly, jump to an even higher number, over time. So another very encouraging point in terms of where the world is pivoting towards. And then lastly, 300 million plus of paid subscriptions across Google One, which is our productivity suite as a part of the Google Workspace offering, as well as for YouTube. So, I mean, this is a no-brainer. The number of podcasts that we've seen emerge over the past few months has just been mind-blowing. I believe that YouTube is the next TV, and that TV has literally died a horrible death. But this is me. Please don't quote me. Don't say Mpumi said. But I'm just stating what I am observing in the market. Over and above that, Google has been an active contributor in terms of its innovation. What I'm showing you on your screen right now is an absolutely amazing visual of the type of AI products that Google has invented. So these are not products that just, came out of an acquisition or whatever. These are Google built and Google invented products that have now shaped this era that we find ourselves in, this AI era. It started off in 2015 with a product or an offering called TensorFlow. TensorFlow is pretty much a machine learning and AI framework. And if you are in the data or data science space, you will be very familiar with TensorFlow as a notebook, as a framework, etc. But that's where it started. It quickly jumped over to creating one of the most revolutionary offerings called a transformer. Now, a transformer is a neural network framework, again, that was invented by Google. But what's so important about me highlighting the transformer is that with all the LLMs that we are finding today, LLMs are actually fueled by this capability called a transformer, giving you the ability to generate content, to create new content, to synthesize content, to ask questions, to answer questions in natural language form, using natural language processing. So all these AIs that have emerged, including ChatGPT, leverage off this key feature and this key capability called the transformer, which was invented by Google. And then I'll quickly just, jump into the others. One other specific one that I want to highlight is in 2018, there was AlphaFold. Now, AlphaFold was a product that revolutionized our data set in the biology space. But this was actually done by our sister company called Google DeepMind. Now here, please take out your pens, or if you're on your PCs, take note of this. If you go on YouTube, search for Google DeepMind AlphaFold. There's a really, really awesome documentary about the founders of Google DeepMind, one of them called Demis oh my gosh, I'm going to butcher his surname, but his name is Demis. This for me really painted the picture of just how profound AI is and how life-changing it is. So we think of AI as, oh, I can change my photos, I can put filters, I can do this, but it's got a very sentimental value in terms of shaping things like diagnosis going forward. If we're going to live until we are 500 years old, technologies and capabilities such as AlphaFold really will help to shape what that future will look like. So this is me overselling, not overselling, but really showing you the pace at which Google has really immersed itself in to get to a point where we find ourselves today, where AI is so accessible to everyone. And I know I jumped this really through really quickly, but if you had the chance to just jot down some of these names, I think it would be very interesting for you to do a bit of research in terms of what each of these capabilities are and have been. And yeah, it will help you just get more enlightened in terms of what AI is and the impact that it's having in our society. Now, okay, sorry, I'll go back to this. This timeline takes you until 2025 in a product called VO. Now, Google didn't stop there, guys. The shipping rate at which AI has really driven us has been in an alarming rate, in my opinion. Google ships products, to be honest, in like a millisecond basis, and it's also refreshing, but it's also a lot to absorb. So I think with the session that I'm going to go into now is just to help synthesize all of this and show you tools and capabilities that can be applicable to you in your everyday life as a student and going forward to become a contributor as either a worker or an entrepreneur. But I just want to get you immersed in some of these cool products and features that have been added and are still to come. Yes, this one. I really wanted to put this one first, and Sia mentioned this earlier in his talk. This is called Nano Banana, if you're American. And if you're South African, it's Nano Banana. Sorry, I do get a bit quirky sometimes. But yes, Nano Banana is actually an image generation model. Now, this means that you can create content that doesn't exist currently using your imagination, using the power of your prompting, right? So you don't have to be a graphic designer. You don't have to be a tech person in order for you to, create your own version of content. But Nano Banana has really changed the game in terms of giving you a toolkit or a tool set that's accessible to you over your phone or over your laptop or any medium that you interact with. But you're now able to create these next best products in visual format. So take the name down, Google it, get immersed in it, create these products and this new content that doesn't exist. But to me, this has been a game changer. And another fun fact, Nano Banana is actually the biggest contributor to Gemini becoming the most downloaded application on the Play Store this year. So yeah, go for it. If you're going to do your assignments, you want to throw in some visuals, Nano Banana is your best friend, and it's found on the Gemini app right now. Okay, the next one that I wanted to highlight is VO 3.1. So if you go back to that timeline that I showed you earlier, I showed you VO 3, and that's where it ended up. VO 3 was actually released either last year, late or early this year. And a few weeks ago, or maybe a month or so ago, VO 3.1, which is accelerator from VO 3, was then introduced. Now, VO is a video generation model. So it's not just you creating, oh, sorry, guys, I'm getting a ping from my colleagues. I think there's a bit of a lag on my slides, Timby, but I'll just make sure I've got a hand. Apologies. Okay, we're good. Awesome. There's a bit of a lag. Apologies. So VO is a video generation model. Now, you can now take a photo. You can now prompt VO 3.1 and say, help me create a video that does X, Y, Z, etc., etc. You also saw the visual that I showed earlier of me in the Alice in Wonderland theme. That was created by VO3, but that's the video generation model that I'm talking about that was introduced by Google. Now, coming up, I want to play a video that shows you the power that you have in your fingertips to create, content that doesn't exist. There is one content creator that we got to be exposed to that created GTA, which is Grand Theft Auto. This is a game that he actually took it. He put his prompting and whatever medium he put on VO, and he said, create a version of Grand Theft Auto in the context of South Africa. I thought this was just such a cool video, the coolest thing I've ever seen, but also one that's showing how AI has democratized the industry. So take a look at it. There is a bit of a lag, but I hope that it will show with the sound, because all of this does matter. Okay. So I'll just give it a few minutes to calibrate, and then I'll play the video right now. Timby, I'll be on standby to see if the video
in the beginning. Sister Bettina! All right. In the meantime,
you steal from the rich to give to the poor. Yeah, that makes Robin Hood sound like a real hero. But when I do it,
open a vault!
Dan is actually problem.
The system is offline.
Good morning, Mukazanzi. And welcome to another day in the Jacaranda City.
I had to become a master at their own game. If you can't beat them, join them. I traveled from city to city and it's the same everywhere. The rich gets richer and the poor stays poor. In a country that needs saving, they keep on stealing.
Ni bikini, baya.
So I think it's time that the people get their own hero.
Superman, Batman, Iron Man, Spider-Man, wees. Ek sal jou oppas in die donker.
Apologies. I'm so sorry, team. It seems the video wasn't playing, or the sound wasn't there, but apologies for that. Please go onto YouTube and search for GTA 7 in South Africa, and then you'll get to consume this video in your own leisure. I think it's an absolutely brilliant piece of work that was done by this content creator. I really apologize for not being able to show it as part of this presentation, but yes, just go onto YouTube, GTA 7 in South Africa, fan-made trailer, and you will get to find it and consume it. Alrighty, moving on. As part of the enhancements and shipping of AI products that Google has done this year, we dropped Gemini 3. Now, Gemini 3 for me has been an ultimate game changer, especially from a coding perspective. So where, some people, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, there's still a lag. Let's give it a few minutes for it to get to Gemini 3. Apologies for this.
Bumi, can I just jump in quickly? I think maybe just stop
Sure.
presenting and then refresh and present again.
Okay, alrighty, let's do that.
Help.
Alrighty, thanks, Timmy. Okay, just give me a minute, everyone. I'll share my tab again. Timby, is it on Gemini 3?
Yes, we're on Gemini 3.
Okay, perfect. I hope the experience will be better going forward. I'm not going to play any more videos though. Okay. Yeah, so Gemini 3 was the latest drop in terms of Gemini being our first party model, one that I've been talking about a whole lot. But Gemini 3 for me changed the game specifically around the vibe coding aspects. I know a lot of you have been dabbling in the vibe coding aspects, but Gemini 3 can help you generate an app in a matter of seconds using a prompt. that for me was an ultimate game changer, and one that I have been, singing to the rooftops about with the partners that I work with, in terms of, building these mini applications that you can now help to, relay an idea that you may have. Again, game changing. You don't have to be a Python developer. You don't have to be a C#, C++ coder, or whatever programming languages that are available today. But using natural language and prompting, again, going back to the transformer as that revolutionary neural network framework that was built by Google, this is what we mean by making AI accessible in every format, in every form of modality. Google Gemini 3 is the latest drop that really revolutionized and changed the way that we look at AI as an enabler, but also as a means for us to tap into this next best world. Alrighty, so Gemini, as mentioned, I've got the QR code on screen right now. Feel free to scan it if you're not already using Gemini as an application. But basically, Gemini is your personal proactive AI assistant. So if you need to ask it a very stupid question that you're not going to ask a human because there will be a lot of judgment around it, you can ask Gemini, and Gemini will source all this data for you, put it in a readable format, and relay it to you in a way that you wanted. Obviously, that's all subject to your skills, for your prompting skills. But basically what's happened is that in any modality, be it video form, be it text form, be it an image, you're able to interact with this capability that Gemini comes with, and that gives you access to large scale global data as and when you need it. So please go for it, scan the QR code, download the application if you're not using it already. Now, Google search did not die, if that's another question you have in mind. What Google has done is that it's also embedded some other features such as the visual capability and other multimodal formats into Google search, using capabilities such as Google Lens, where you can just pop out your camera, scan a specific item, and Google will be able to tell you what it is, or give you a close enough view of what you wanted to look at. This can influence things like your shopping experience. This can influence things like your learning experience, when you genuinely just want to know what a specific thing is without having the words to do it. Over and above that, Google introduced what we call AI overviews. AI overviews are, once you've hit your prompt, it actually just gives you a bit of a high-level caption of that particular subject matter that you are searching or have searched for, but in a format that is chunk-sized, easy enough to digest, and quick enough to synthesize that information. And then Google went over and above that and said, we're now embedding AI into your search experience with the capability called AI mode. So if you go into your Google application or even on a browser, you'll see that there used to only be all places, maps, images, etc. Now there's one tab added that's called AI mode. So now, instead of searching like you would traditionally on the search engine, you can now use your prompts using AI mode in natural language, and you will get the responses because it's leveraging Google Gemini in the background. So all of this has been a means that Google has given at your fingertips to supercharge your search experience. So no, search is still very much alive. I wasn't going to end this call or this session without giving you a plug. So pull out your phones. There's going to be a lot of material that you're going to need to store and save for your consumption. And here we go. Okay, I'm not going to play this. It's going to be a video and we're having our challenges, so I'll skip through it quickly. A very exciting offer that we as a team really wanted to put out to you today is a cool offering called the Gemini Free Pro Plan for students. So this is giving AI at your fingertips in terms of there's a free version of these AI platforms. There's a paid for version, etc. So this gives you the paid for features that our AI comes with without you paying for it because you're a student. So for the first year, it will be for free. You will get unlimited chats, unlimited image uploads. You'll get all the cool features and functions that come with our AI for purposes of your academic journey. So I'll go through a few of these products quickly just now, just to give you an idea of how you can utilize them. But the most important thing, if there's anything you're going to grab from today's session, is this QR code that's on your screen right now. This will take you straight to the website where you can sign up before this offer ends. Now, you can see on your screen very clearly that this offer ends in 4 days. So please make sure you're spreading the word around this if you don't already know. That Google is now giving you the right or giving you the paid for version of our AI services for you for free for the first year as a student. So please go for it. Grab the QR code, go on there and sign up. Okay, so as part of the package that comes with Gemini Pro is a revolutionary feature or product called Notebook LM. Now, Notebook LM is an AI research tool. How I use Notebook LM as a professional is I ingest as many PDF documents as I possibly can to help me understand either a subject matter or a problem that one of my customers is having and I need to provide a solution. It also helps me to create these architectures that help to build these robust solutions that our customers are demanding lately. So what you can use it for is for your research purposes. You've got an assignment, you've got a topic that you need to conform to, but you've got a whole lot of sources that you kind of need to go through line by line, etc. Notebook LM, what it does is you can ingest all of this, and then with a prompt, say exactly how you want your information to be synthesized and summarized for your consumption. So you upload your 156 PDF documents and you say, using all these documents that I have ingested, summarize a topic XYZ, and Notebook LM will put it in a format for you that really has been a game changer for me. One is that it can do a mind map. So you can already, it already gives you a flow that can help you start your research according to how it's basically categorized it, which makes life so much simpler. When I went into university, when I was in university, I would go into the library. This would literally take me 2 weeks just to consolidate all the necessary information before I could even start synthesizing it. So this has really chunked a whole lot of time for you as a professional, for you as an academic going through your academic journey. So I've got the link on screen as well. Please go for it. If you're not utilizing the Pro plan, you can also go directly into GOO.gle /Notebook LM, and you can start to utilize Notebook LM. You can find it as an application as well on the Play Store as well as on the iOS App Store. But you can also leverage it on a browser, on a PC, as well as on your phone. So again, making all these cool products and offerings accessible to you. So this is your research best friend. It's called Notebook LM. Now, the next one that I want to show is another capability within Notebook LM called Deep Research. Now, Deep Research has actually been crafted to help you, navigate those research tasks that, as I mentioned earlier, could easily take you 2 weeks or over a month to consolidate. But not just consolidate, it also helps you find the right answers in a matter of a prompt. Okay. So this is another way of generating, information, synthesizing it and making it accessible to you in a way and format that you want. What's also on screen here, it says that deep research also gives you a capability to run podcasts on this research material that you have. So instead of you just reading through heaps and heaps and stacks of documents, you can actually listen through some of the material. This capability is called audio overview. This one, I think, is the one that I overutilize, because I can actually chunk my traffic time and still be productive while I drive. If it takes me an hour to get to the office, I know that my hour will be well spent because I can start to listen in on information that really means something to me, and one that will help me be more productive for the day going forward. So as mentioned, this 1,000-page thesis that you want to read through, you can now listen through it in a form of a podcast. What's also really nice about this, which I haven't mentioned, is that it's not just you listening in on somebody regurgitating information. You can actually interrupt it and say, excuse me, I want to ask a question. How does this specific aspect relate to this specific aspect? And Gemini in the background will quickly pivot to that, go into all the sources and bring in the information back to you and say, based on your question, this is what I have consolidated, and this is the closest answer to the question that you've asked. All of this is done over audio. So please, please, please go for it. Check out Notebook LM. Use it for your everyday life. It really has made my life a lot simpler. As a working professional, I wish I had this when I was still a student. Now, another cool one that I wanted to show, which also will be extremely interesting for you, is the vibe coding aspects within the Gemini app itself. So when you go into the app, you'll see that there's an option where you can actually choose whether you want deep research, whether you want to create images, videos, but there's also one called Gemini Canvas. Now, Gemini Canvas helps you to create cool visuals such as, one, an infographic. So synthesizing all this complex information and making it in an infographic format. But over and above that, it can actually create an application that you can interact with. So give you the front end of an application that you can interact with based on the data that you've grounded it to. So those 1,000 pieces of papers that you would have ingested, Gemini in the background will take all of that, create an application through a prompt that you would have put in, and create this front end that you want to interact with. So another game-changing aspect within Gemini that has been rolled out. So go for it. Go into the Gemini app, search for Canvas, and start. I know you've got a whole lot of ideas that are now in your mind. Oh my gosh, I am done. I think those are the few key nuggets that I just wanted to share with you today to help you get started, to help you contribute in this AI race, but most importantly, to make it as accessible and helpful to you in your academic journey and in your journey going into being a professional or an entrepreneur or wherever the world takes you. And with that, I'd like to thank you so much for taking the time to listen in on a Friday night when you could be, in other areas that I'd say maybe more fun for your age group. But I honestly feel that, we all need to be immersed in this experience. It's got no color, it's got no age, it's got no financial background, etc. And one that would actually make sure that we are also equal contributors in this global race. So if you've not dabbled into AI yet, this is the right time for you. And I hope that I have demystified the fears that we had starting out this conversation. And with that, I will quickly pivot to our next speaker, who I'm extremely excited for you to listen in on. His name is Vusumuzi Dube. Vusi, over to you.
Thank you, Mpumi. Hello, my name is Vusumuzi Dube. I am a software engineer at the AI Research Center in Accra, which is part of an org called Google Research, and we are the African chapter of this org. So us, along with some colleagues in Kenya, are all the researchers that are in the African continent. I am from Southern Africa. I am also, I studied at Tux. So yeah, guys, if you study here, you can still have global opportunities, global reach. I think Fumi's career has been an inspiration to us as well. There is access to all these companies just from a South African context. So today I'm going to tell you about some of the products that we build from the AI Research Center. I formatted the slideshow to tell you why we built the project. Most of them were good research projects, which is what we focus on in the AI Research Center, applying AI to research problems that may not be solved any other way. And I have a few. I've been fortunate enough to work on two of the projects that I'm about to tell you about, so I have hands-on information on them. And then one of them is just one of the ones that I really love so much because it's one that we see every day when we interact with maps. And I do remember the first day I saw it pop up, and it just made a world of difference in my maps experience. Okay, next slide, please.
All right, I'll switch. There we go. Obviously, you're welcome to also take the reins if you want to present from your end as well.
Okay, let me try to do that.
Alrighty, I think let's do that. Thank you.
Can everyone see my screen or?
Not yet on my end, you see. It's loading. I can see it now.
Okay, perfect. Oops. Can we still see the screen?
Yes, Fusi.
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. I'm just trying to get it to move to the next slide. So the first project I'm going to tell you about is the floods project. It is important because floods cause, they're the most common natural disaster, and they cause a disproportionate amount of damage for how common they are. So there are 5,000 to 6,000, 60,000 fatalities annually, and it can affect 95 million people up to 240 million people. Most of these people that are affected are in the global south, where we don't have the best tools for predicting and monitoring floods. So on screen now, you should see how we do monitoring in, this is actually from a monitoring station in Mozambique, where we had the cyclone Itai and subsequent flooding of the region. This was also around the time the Durban floods happened from that same cyclone. In remote regions, people usually use manual monitoring methods. So somebody has to physically go out and read the river gauge, which can be difficult during flooding periods, because as you can see, at some point, the river will be above the gauge. And if the river is above the gauge, the person can also not actually get to the river. And this is a challenge for rural communities. So what we said was, we want a way of warning rural communities about incoming floods before they happen, so that we can so that they can be safe and we can change the outcome of the flood, reducing the amount of property damage if they can prepare for a flood, reducing the amount of loss of life if they can get away from the flood. How we did that was we launched a platform called Flood Hub, which is now, actually, this slide is a bit outdated. It is now in over 100 plus countries, and it covers a lot of the world, not just the global south. Right now, it covers a few more than 23 African countries, but it is the most advanced river rain flood forecasting system in the world, and can report up to 7 days in advance that a flood is going to happen. It also has an expert mode and an API, which allows you to drill really into the data and see what's happening on a specific gauge and understand how these warnings are generated by the model. I can't go into that, but if you would like data, or if you would like to play around with this tool to maybe build the next early alert system for to prevent Durban floods or Cape Town flooding, you can just sign up for the partner program and use the data. So this is just showing that if you zoom into a region, you actually see specific river gauges and our prediction level for whether there'll be a flood, whether it's okay and we should just warn people around that they might be a flood, or whether it's just okay and there's no reason for a flood warning. This is what this is what you'd see on the interface if you're looking at a specific gauge, and it will show you where the trigger warnings for just a warning and a alert are. A warning is just to say, okay, there's a flood coming, please leave the region. An alert is to say, we're certain that there's a flood coming and it's devastating. And somewhere here should also outline how devastating the flood is by giving you a context. The context is usually a historic flood level. So if I say the flood, the banks of the river will be at 5 meters, that may not mean anything to somebody in the region. But if I say this is, we haven't seen a flood like this in 5 years or 10 years, people who were around 5 years or 10 years ago know how devastating that flood is. Okay. And that is flood forecasting. I am not sure if everyone can still see the screen.
Yes,
we can see.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so the next product that is that I would like to share is Open Buildings. Now, Open Buildings is one of my favorite products because it is actually something that you can see in real time, and it is something that everyone can use, and it has a very, very sizable impact for the kind of product it is. So what Open Buildings is we had a problem in Africa that we couldn't map the buildings, or there was very little building data available for Africa. And Google Maps subsequently had very little data in it about African buildings. This also spans to African roads and other African infrastructure. And what the team said was, okay, what we want to do is we want to get more African roads, more African buildings, and more African information into Google Maps. And the way we decided to do it was by using satellite information to see if it was possible to use vision machine learning models to pick out the buildings from the rest of the environment from satellite imagery. This would have been important because it allows for understanding where buildings are, and this can help with urban planning in the sense that you can choose where to build electric power stations, you can choose where to build roads, and with the latest data set that we have, which is actually a temporal data set, which means that it shows how an area is developing over time, over a span of years. You can also choose to build hospitals and other important infrastructure, because you can see that is where the people and the towns and cities are growing. It also allows you to develop population estimates. By having a rough idea of where buildings are, you can have a rough idea of where to send your census people to conduct more in-depth census and get a good number of how many people in your country. This is important because there are some African countries, I'm not going to name and shame, that have not conducted a census in over 40 years. And that is not a good look. So this was a good tool that helped just prepare countries in the census, going out to do your census. So what were the challenges we faced when actually building? Why wasn't this data set available to begin with? In the African context, buildings are very differently shaped, and they have multiple other challenges that make it difficult for them to be detected, including the fact that some of them have thatched roofs, which for a normal model wouldn't be picked up. Sometimes you have villages on top of water, which is a very weird case. And especially from satellite imagery, this is a difficult situation to pick out buildings from. In other situations, you can also have buildings that are extremely close together. And without high resolution imagery, it becomes very difficult to pick apart which buildings are which. And so with that low confidence in knowing that this is a building or this is a cluster of buildings, you wouldn't want to actually release a building map there. And yes, there are just a lot of different challenges in the African context that we had to overcome. But we managed to do it. And what happened was, before the Open Buildings project, what you'd see in maps is, okay, that small plot of land with very little building data. And after the first maker, that increased by so much. Like most of the global south most of Africa was covered, and we could see individual buildings from the map view. Even if you open up Google Maps right now and zoom in, you will be able to see these buildings that have been picked up by the Open Buildings team. And this is why this is my favorite project. You can actually physically see it, and it does have an impact that is close to home. So far, 60% of the buildings in Africa are provided by this team. And this is a small team that is sitting in the Accra office, and they've managed to map 60% of the buildings that are in Africa in Google Maps. We also cover 64% of the global south. This is other countries like countries in South America, in India, in Southeast Asia, and in the southern part of North America. So from a small team, we had a big impact, and we now have an open data set that can be used by anyone. So if you want to go and check out this data set, just go and check Google Earth, the Open Buildings data set. The last project that I'm going to share is the weather project. This was a project that I also worked on, and also was quite impressive in its scale. So the issue that we had was, yes, there were already weather teams in Google, but I'm pretty sure that from the last, not right now, but in the past, Google was very bad at predicting weather on your phone, probably. And everyone used to joke that iPhones had better weather prediction than Androids. This wasn't because of lack of trying. It's because in the African context, we have very little data, very little high quality data about what's actually happening on the ground in terms of weather. But if we could get this data, the impact we could have is we could obviously get we could have early warnings for disasters like drought and flooding and fire. And this is actually why I moved from the flood team to the weather team. It was because I wanted to get a bit more weather data into the weather context to improve the flood model. And then I found, actually, this is also an interesting project to work on, and moved over to the weather team. So going back to the data that we have, this is a map of radar coverage over the whole world. As you can see, we're very sparsely covered in Africa. In South Africa, we have a lot of high quality data, but in other parts of Africa, there's very limited radar data. And our question was, is there a way to improve weather predictions without this radar information? And what we did was we developed a weather model that could sort of simulate the radar from weather satellite imagery and transfer learning from regions that do have radar. And it was a good research problem because we didn't know if this was possible. We didn't know if it was possible to improve weather forecasts without these instruments. But we did find that, yes, it is actually possible to do this and improve the weather forecasting. And from that, we were able to deliver now a synthetic radar to the other weather teams in Google. And this improved the forecasting enough that we could release other other weather warning tools and weather widgets. Like now, if you search, or just before a rain shower, you should get a nowcast that shows, oh, there's going to be rain and it's going to be for this long. And this is our confidence in how much rain there will be. So this was a very good project, and it shows how we can use ML in the African context to get African solutions for the problems that we have. And those are all the projects that I wanted to share. I'm going to hand back over to Mpumi to close us out.
Thanks, Pussy. Thank you so much for all of that. And I'm going to hand back to either Ongeza or to Richard. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you very much, Sis Mpumi, and thank you very much to you as well, Pussy. It has been such an experience seeing all the investments that AI has made to our lives. It just shows how AI will really change our lives in the future. We'll be living a totally different life. And I'm sure we have questions in our Q&A. I'll just check so that we can get over that before we let you go. But thank you very much for honoring us with your presence today. It is very much appreciated. And we have a question from Onkabetse Mutlowane. He's saying, hi, when creating an app with AI, will I be the full and sole owner of the app, no longer how big it gets? And can I present the app for Google for collaborations?
Vusi, do you want to take this one, or I can take a stab at it, and then maybe you can color it in?
Please go for it.
Okay, cool. So when you create an app using AI, you know there are some limitations to that come with AI, right? Either your data hasn't been grounded to where it needs to be, etc., and other sort of safety considerations you have to bear in mind before you say, look, this is a production ready application and it can go out there and serve its purpose. Now, when you say that are you going to be the sole owner of the application? I think it depends on basically how you've built the app and the architecture that you've sort of built out when you put in the right plumbing towards building this application. So there's all sorts of factors that you need to bear in mind. But if you mean ownership in the sense of IP, then I guess it depends on the tooling that you've utilized to create it. So if you've used AI, and I spoke about vibe coding earlier, it will obviously state that some of the sources either cannot be connected to because it's just a matter of it giving you a front end user interface for you to interact using the prompt that you already have put in. So there will be some level of sort of showing that it was created by AI and not fully developed by you, and so the IP may not necessarily be 100% yours. But again, it all depends on the tooling that you've used, the architecture that you've built around, etc. Your third question around can you present the app to Google for collaborations? I think that depends. Earlier, I spoke about a whole lot of programs that we offer. Startups is one of them. There's a digital skilling component. And so collaboration could look in different shapes and forms. So if you're a startup, you've got your own thing that you've started. I think it's worth obviously showing to the world and exploring what our startup program encompasses and what the requirements are in order to get in there, and then potentially collaborate with Google. But there's other mechanisms that you can also utilize. There's a very amazing group that I've been part of since I started at Google. It's called the Google Developer Group. Google Developer Groups are available in different chapters depending on city. So there's one for Johannesburg, Soweto, Pretoria, and Cape Town that I'm aware of in South Africa and across the continent. If you join these groups, you'll get visibility to people like us that work for Google, that have a technical affinity to some of the Google products. And then there's ways that you can explore, what offerings and programs are available that you can also latch into. And then, just, be on the lookout for, programs and sessions such as these ones where you get to, interact with us as you are over here. I know I've not answered your question in detail in terms of probably some of the key points that you wanted, but a lot of areas can be a bit blurred, and it all depends on how you've built that particular product, what solutions you've used, what offerings you've used, what plugins you've used. There's a whole lot of factors that you need to think about before you can think of an application as a production-ready, large-scale application. I hope that does answer the question.
Thank you very much, Mpumi. I think that does sort out the question. And we have another one from Kenny. Kenny is saying, hi, what are the requirements for local startups to be part of the Google program? We built the app using Google Framework and Flutter in brackets, and also hosted an app on Firebase Firestore. We also integrated Gemini API and Google Maps API, and still planning on using the most of the Google ecosystem products. Interesting. Okay.
Very, very interesting. Amazing also. So Kenny, if you're not part of the Google developer groups yet, please look out or just, do a little Google about where you can find the closest chapter to you, because this organization is mainly suited for Flutter developers, Firebase developers. They started off as pretty much mobile developers and sort of branched into the AI and cloud space. So it would be really good for you to be part of that, because it's a community of like-minded people. You've got a fully fledged application that is worth, putting out there, and also getting a bit of feedback from your peers in terms of how you can optimize it and make it a better version of what it already is. Your question around what are the requirements for the startups program? I know that I'm not part of the startups team, but what I know is that what you need to get into or be considered for some of the accelerators is that you need to have had seed funding or Series A funding first. So that's the main requirement. And the reason for that is that Google wants assurance that there is someone else that's believed enough in your product or in your offering or your business to fund it, and Google will just supplement what already currently exists. So if you already have seed funding or Series A funding, you can just go Google for startups. It goes in cohorts on an annual basis. This year's cohort, I think, has already concluded, but there's opportunity for next year as well. But the main requirement is that you need to have had seed funding or Series A funding to begin with. I hope that answers your question, Kenny.
Thank you very much, Mpumi. I'm not seeing any more questions on the Q&A session. And before we move to the closure of the webinar, I'd just like to hand over to my chairperson, Richard, for the vote of thanks.
All right. Colleagues, thank you very much for such an informative session. I think you did do justice to the cause, and also students are leaving here with being more informed and more inclined actually to take up the package, but also look into how it is that we can use the offering that you colleagues presented. This, I must say that this is indeed the first of many more engagements and collaborations and platforms where BMF Student Chapter together with Google will be collaborating on. But apart from that, I think the transformation agenda and the elevation or the trajectory of young people in South Africa has indeed been elevated, and we give props to you, Google, and the colleagues for actually taking such initiative and directing all of those investments towards the AI space and also the development of Africa when it comes to artificial intelligence. But apart from that, mine is to just say thank you very much, Sis Mpumi, Mr. Vusmuzi. Hey, I almost gave you a nickname and a surname based on the guy that's featuring in the news. But also, Ms. Tembi, thank you very much for your assistance as well. And I see that I think it was Mr. Sia who has left us in the session. A big thank you to you, colleagues from Google. I think this is the first of many more engagements, like I said. To our facilitator, Ongi, thank you very much, my beloved national ATO. Thank you very, very much. Sis Kulu, thank you very much for the facilitation. And congratulations as well. I think to those of you who don't know, Mrs. Kulu has just obtained an MBA from the Henley Business School, and she was graduating just earlier this week. Thank you very much for being the backbone of this session, the lady behind putting everything together. And thank you very much for just helping us create this platform and also make this the beginning of many more engagements and just set us apart as the BMF student chapters, people who are really, really for the development of young people, but not in a philosophical, but rather more practical sense. And to the members of the BMF student chapter, the young people that actually joined, thank you very much for dedicating your Friday to your Friday evening. That is, it's not just a normal Friday in December out of all months. Thank you very much for availing yourselves, colleagues. This is a stepping stone, like I mentioned, towards your development, but also towards you being able to feature and have a critical role in this new AI economy that we find ourselves in. Colleagues, with that being said, thank you very much. Ongi, if there's anything that you'd like to say, please say it. But I think we'll wrap up by playing that video, that GTA 7 video, Mpumi, that misbehaved a bit earlier. I think we'll make it behave this time and just show the colleagues
what
you actually meant by that. But until we meet again, colleagues, please be safe and have a lovely festive season. And God bless you all. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity.